This map outlines a single, contiguous empire stretching from modern-day Afghanistan all the way across to Bengal. Over 2,000 years ago, this massive footprint, known as Akhand Bharat, represented a deeply unified subcontinent. But the dominant power of the time, the Nanda Empire, was highly arrogant. When a brilliant scholar named Chanakya offered his political counsel, King Nanda mocked his appearance and had him physically shoved onto the floor of the royal court. Humiliated in front of the entire assembly, Chanakya untied his topknot and swore he would not tie it again until the Nanda Dynasty was completely destroyed. He walked out of the capital, searching for a blunt instrument to execute his vengeance. India's first unified empire grew from this specific moment of personal grievance, fueled by a strategist who viewed the entire subcontinent as a tool for his private revenge. Wandering through a village, Chanakya spotted a group of children playing a mock royal court. One boy, acting as king, was dispensing exceptionally harsh yet perfectly logical punishments to his peers for petty theft. His name was Chandragupta. Recognizing raw operational potential, Chanakya purchased the boy from his mother and took him to the intellectual hub of Taxila. There, he subjected Chandragupta to years of rigorous indoctrination in military strategy, economics, and statecraft. They were plotting against a massive, well-funded Nanda war machine led by elite tacticians like Amatya Rakshasa. Chanakya and his student were essentially a two-man insurgency with zero resources. A strategist requires a physical force to execute the violence required for regime change. Chandragupta was the perfectly forged instrument for that task. Their early military campaigns were complete disasters. Chandragupta repeatedly aimed his small forces directly at the heart of the Nanda Empire, attempting brute force assassinations and frontal assaults. He was crushed every time. Hiding out after a defeat, the two men watched a hungry child try to eat a bowl of hot porridge. The young boy plunges his hand straight into the steaming center and instantly pulls back, burning his fingers. The mother explained that the center of the bowl retains the most heat. The edges cool first. Chanakya began applying this thermal logic to the map of the Nanda Empire, viewing the capital at Pataliputra as that molten center, while the border regions were the accessible, cooling edges. Successful insurgencies must abandon direct confrontation with the core. By systemically dismantling the weaker periphery first, the center eventually becomes an isolated, vulnerable target. They immediately pivoted to the northwest borders. Alexander of Macedon had recently retreated back toward Greece, leaving behind a massive power vacuum and a fractured network of local governors. Chandragupta exploited this chaos. He systematically targeted and eliminated the remaining Hellenistic governors who had claimed control of the Punjab region. With the borders secured, he formed a massive strategic alliance with the Himalayan king Parvataka, merging their militias into an army massive enough to rival the Nanda forces. By absorbing these vulnerable, splintered territories on the edge of the map, they generated a geometric military momentum. When they finally marched on the capital, the isolated Nanda center collapsed entirely. Conquering a massive landmass requires brute force. Holding on to it requires complex structural engineering. To prevent the exact kind of insurgency they had just executed, they built a vast intelligence network. This specialized secret service had one objective: constantly monitor internal dissent and external threats. This map illustrates how they managed the administrative load. The subcontinent was broken down into 4 distinct, highly regulated provinces. Each zone had a local governor, but they all answered to a central command at Pataliputra. To physically bind these zones, Chandragupta ordered the construction of thousands of miles-long superhighway connecting Pataliputra directly to Taxila, thus ensuring rapid military deployment and communication. This bureaucratic infrastructure, the massive roads, the tax collectors, and regional governors, permanently locked down the territory in a way that an invading army never could. That level of extreme control requires deep paranoia. Chanakya secretly instituted a protocol of microdosing Chandragupta's daily meals with small amounts of poison, forcing his body to build a biological immunity to assassination attempts. One evening, Chandragupta's heavily pregnant wife, Queen Durdhara, unknowingly ate from his tainted plate. The poison acted quickly and she drops to the stone floor. Arriving too late to save her, Chanakya made a ruthless calculation. He drew his sword and performed an immediate, brutal surgical extraction, cutting the unborn child from the dying queen to save the royal bloodline. They named the boy Bindusara. Engineering an indestructible geopolitical state extracts a devastating, irreparable toll on the humanity of the people who build it. But the system they built worked. The extreme administrative uniformity across the empire created a surprisingly stable society, where competing religions like Buddhism, Jainism, and ancient Hinduism coexisted peacefully. Then, after 23 years of absolute rule over an integrated subcontinent, Chandragupta did something highly unusual. He abdicated. He handed the throne entirely to his son, Bindusara. Stripping away his wealth, he migrated south to a remote temple complex to live out his days as an ascetic Jain monk. He eventually passed away through Salakana, a solemn ritual of gradual, willing fasting. This statue reflects the enduring memory of a dynasty that operated smoothly for another 130 years. The vast, self-correcting machine Chandragupta built empowered successors like Ashoka the Great to govern a stable subcontinent long after he was gone. The ultimate validation of a perfectly engineered political system is that it outlives and no longer requires its creator.